Princess of the Empire stood in front of the thick observation window. Her skin was smooth and clear like crystal. It shone with a soft blue light from inside her body. Below, the space dock moved with activity. Workers in suits moved between ships and control stations. The human vessel had just arrived. It was smaller than ships, but it had caused big problems. 2 military ships had been disabled by this human vessel in the past 3 weeks. Had ruled her people for 30 years. She knew how to keep her face calm. She knew how to make her voice sound empty of feeling. She knew how to say hard things without showing that they hurt. But today, looking at the human warship, she felt something move in her chest that she did not like. The diplomacy team had told her this meeting would be simple and fast. One human captain would come to the station. They would talk about the prisoners. They would talk about the space territory that both sides wanted. Then the human would leave. Everything would be settled and clean. Captain Price, that was the human's name. The files said he was dangerous. The files said his family was from the cold north part of the human land. His father had been a military officer. His mother had been a teacher. He was 43 years old. He had killed 18 soldiers in direct combat. He had commanded 5 military ships and lost 3 of them to forces. But those were just numbers on a screen, just words in a report. Had read hundreds of reports about hundreds of different species and soldiers. They all blended together in her mind. They were all the same. They all wanted to fight. They all wanted power. They all wanted more than they had. This human would be the same. She was sure of it. Turned away from the window and walked to the mirror that covered one wall of her private chamber. She was tall, even for her skin shone like ice that had light moving through it. Her hair was long and white. Her eyes were large and dark like the space between stars. She wore a long dress made from the finest materials in the empire. Each thread had been dyed with colors that took weeks to make. The dress showed everyone who saw her that she was royalty, that she was powerful, that she was in control. She used a small tool to fix her hair. She made sure every piece lay in the right place. She checked her face to see if her skin showed calm. A good princess never showed her true feelings. She never let people see when she was upset or tired or confused. She never let them see her weak. Was very good at not showing weakness. The communication speaker made a soft sound. A voice came through it. The voice was calm and professional. It said the human captain had arrived. It said he was in the arrival chamber. It said he would be brought to the negotiation room in 5 minutes. His heart moved faster. She took a long, slow breath, then another. She had done this before. She had met with dangerous leaders. She had talked to soldiers and ambassadors and traders from 42 different species. Some of them wanted to kill her. Some of them wanted to make deals with her. Some of them wanted things she did not understand. But she had always kept control. She had always stayed calm. She had always won. This would be the same. She walked through the hallways of the station. Other officials walked behind her. They wore uniforms that showed they worked for the government. They carried small devices that would record everything that was said in the negotiation room. No one spoke. No one smiled. Everyone was serious and professional. The negotiation room was large and round. The table in the middle was made from dark stone. There were 6 seats on one side for the people. There were 6 seats on the other side for the human people. A transparent wall separated the 2 sides from the observers' area. The observers would watch everything but could not hear what was said. Sat in the center seat. She sat very straight. She made sure her hands were on the table where everyone could see them. She had studied human body language. Humans read many things from the way a person sat. They read it from the position of hands. They read it from the direction of eyes. A door opened. The human soldiers came in first. They wore combat suits that showed many places where weapons had been used. The suits were cracked in some areas. In other areas, they were new again from repairs. These soldiers had seen combat. Then the human captain came in. Price was not what expected. She had expected a large man. The files said he was larger than most humans but not the largest. She had expected him to look hard. The files said he had been in combat many times, but what she did not expect was the way he moved. He moved like something alive but not wild, like a weapon that had been made with great care, like something that could kill but also something that knew how to hold back. His eyes were the color of the sky on the human world, blue and pale. When those eyes moved across the room and found her face, felt something happen inside her body that made her skin light up bright. She used all the power of her training to make the light stop. She made her skin go back to its normal glow. She made sure her face showed no change. But inside her mind, something had broken that she did not know how to fix. The human captain sat down across from her. His soldiers sat on his sides. The soldiers did the same. Everyone was now in their place. The negotiation would begin. "Princess," the human captain said. His voice was low and calm. "I am grateful for the chance to speak with you today." This was wrong. The files did not say the human captain would be grateful. The files said he would be hard. The files said he would be angry about the 2 ships that had been destroyed. "Captain Price," said. Her voice was steady. She was proud of that. "Your military has caused serious damage to the Empire. 2 military ships have been disabled. 37 soldiers have been killed or wounded. The Galactic Council has asked that we settle this problem through talk instead of more fighting." "I understand," Price said. He did not get angry. He did not point out that ships had destroyed human settlements. He did not try to make feel bad about what her people had done. He just sat there and said, "I understand." The negotiations went forward, presented the side. She explained what territory the people needed. She explained why the human expansion into that space was a danger. She used facts and numbers. She used maps and reports. She was excellent at this. She always was. But something was wrong. Every time she looked at the human captain, her skin would want to light up again. Every time he spoke, she would listen to his voice instead of his words. Every time he moved, she would notice where he moved instead of listening to what was being said around her. This had never happened to her before. In 30 years of diplomatic work, she had never lost focus. She had never let feelings get in the way of her duty. She did not like this at all. When the first day of negotiations ended, went back to her private chambers. She sat on her bed and tried to understand what had happened. The human captain was dangerous. That was clear, but not because he wanted to fight. He was dangerous because he made her not want to do her job correctly. He made her feel things that had no place in the mind of a princess. She decided she would be more careful tomorrow. She would not look at his face. She would not listen to his voice. She would focus only on the negotiations. She would remember who she was and what her duty was. But as she lay in the darkness of her chamber, waiting for sleep to come, she knew she was lying to herself. The human captain had changed something in her, and she had no idea how to fix it. The second day of negotiations began early in the morning. Had not slept well. Her mind had kept going to the human captain. She had tried to understand why his presence affected her so much. But every answer she found seemed wrong or incomplete. When she came into the negotiation room, Price was already sitting at his place. He looked like he had not slept either. There were dark marks under his eyes. His face was tired. But when he sat up. He looked more awake. Today they would discuss the prisoners. Had 6 soldiers who had been captured in the last battle. She needed to bring them home. The human had promised to return them in exchange for 7 human soldiers that the Empire had captured. The exchange was supposed to happen in the middle of the station, a neutral area, no weapons allowed, just the soldiers being moved from one side to the other. But before that happened, there would be more talking, more negotiation, more time sitting across from the human captain while trying to keep her skin from glowing. Price began to speak about the human soldiers. He explained that they were trained and skilled. He explained that they had been treated well by the Empire. He said he trusted that the soldiers would be treated the same way on the human side. "I have ordered my people to treat all prisoners with respect," he said. His voice was calm and serious. "They are soldiers, yes, but they are also living beings. They deserve to eat good food. They deserve to sleep in clean places. They deserve to see doctors if they are hurt. This is not just my order. This is who humans are." Felt her skin start to glow. She had not expected the human captain to care about how his enemies were treated. In her experience, military officers cared only about winning. They cared only about power and territory and resources. But this human seemed to care about something else. "The soldiers will be returned to you in good condition," said. Her voice was steady, but her insides felt like something was moving around. "They will receive the same treatment we give to all prisoners." "I believe you," Price said, and he seemed to mean it. He did not doubt her. He did not ask for proof. He just believed what she said. The exchange happened 2 hours later. The prisoners were brought to the middle area of the station. The soldiers looked tired and thin. They had been in human custody for 3 weeks, but they were alive. They could walk. They did not appear to have been harmed. Then the human soldiers came from the other direction. They were in similar condition. Some of them had injuries. Some of them moved slowly, but they were not broken. They were not destroyed. Watched as the human captain stood to the side and watched his soldiers be exchanged. When one of his soldiers stumbled and looked like he would fall, something unexpected happened. The human captain reached out and caught the soldier. He held him up until the soldier could stand on his own feet again. Then he let go and stepped back. This was not how the exchange was supposed to work. The human captain should have stayed far away. He should have let his people do what they needed to do. But instead, he had broken the distance between the two sides. He had helped one of his own soldiers even though it meant breaking the formal rules of the exchange. An officer near made a small sound. She felt shocked that the human captain had done this. After the exchange was complete, the prisoners moved to their new spaces. The human soldiers went to the area where they would stay until their ship was ready to leave. The soldiers went to the medical station to be checked by doctors. Price came back too. They stood in the middle of the empty exchange area. "Why did you help your soldier?" asked. She could not stop herself from asking. "He was falling," said simply. "My people train to take care of each other. That does not stop just because we are on a neutral station." "You broke protocol," said. "Yes," said. He did not seem sorry about this. "I did, because a rule that says I cannot help someone who is hurt is a bad rule. Some rules are more important than others. Helping people is more important than distance between governments." Did not know what to say to this. In the Empire, rules were rules. They did not change based on what a person felt inside. But the human captain seemed to believe that some things mattered more than rules. That afternoon, there was a formal dinner. The diplomats and officers from both sides would eat together. This was traditional. It showed that both sides respected each other even when they disagreed. Sat at the head of the long table. Price sat directly across from her. The table was long enough that they could see each other clearly but could not touch. On both sides, soldiers and diplomats sat and ate and sometimes tried to make conversation, but found it hard to pay attention to anyone except the human captain. He ate slowly. He looked around the room carefully. He seemed to be thinking about many things while eating. Sometimes he would catch her looking at him, and he would not look away. He would just look back at her with those blue eyes that made her skin want to glow. When the dinner was almost finished, Price caught the attention of a server. He pointed to a diplomat who was eating alone because his regular eating partner had become sick. Asked the server to bring extra food to that diplomat. He asked if the diplomat's health was good. He seemed genuinely interested in the answer. Realized that the human captain was being kind, not because he had to be, not because it was part of the negotiation, but because he was actually kind. This was more dangerous than anything he had done before. After the dinner ended, walked back to her chambers. Her mind was full of thoughts. She thought about how the human captain had helped his soldier. She thought about how he had asked about the diplomat's health. She thought about the way his eyes looked at her when he thought she was not paying attention. In 30 years, no one had ever made her feel like this. She had been trained to see people as problems to solve or deals to make. She had been trained to keep her heart separate from her work. She had been trained to be alone even when surrounded by others. But this human soldier was making her feel something she did not have a name for. She came to her chamber and locked the door. She sat in the darkness and let her skin glow. She let it shine bright blue in the dark room. No one could see her. No one could know that her control was falling apart. Tomorrow there would be more negotiations. Tomorrow she would have to sit across from the human captain again. Tomorrow she would have to pretend that his kindness did not matter to her. Tomorrow she would have to remember that she was a princess and that he was a human soldier from a species that her people had fought against. But tonight, in the darkness of her chamber, she let herself feel what was really happening to her. And she knew that tomorrow would be even harder than today. The third day arrived and felt her control slipping away like sand falling through her fingers. She had trained for 30 years to keep her emotions locked deep inside where no one could see them. But the human captain was breaking down all of that training. The negotiations that morning went badly. Could not focus. She made small mistakes. She forgot points that were important. She had to ask for information that she should have already known. The diplomats looked at her with confusion. They had never seen the princess lose focus before. Price noticed. Of course he noticed. He was a military commander. Noticing things was part of his job. Around the middle of the day, he asked for a break in the negotiations. He said his people needed to rest. The team agreed. Everyone left the negotiation room. Went back to her chamber to try to calm herself. She sat down and tried to meditate like the teachers had taught her when she was young. But instead of becoming more calm, she became more upset. Her skin started glowing brightly even though she did not want it to. A message came to her chamber. It was from Price. He wanted to meet her in the observation area. He said there was something important he wanted to show her. Should have said no. She should have stayed in her chamber. She should have kept professional distance from the human captain. But she found herself getting up and walking toward the observation area. Price was standing by the large window that looked out into space. His human soldiers stood near the door but far enough away that they could not hear what was being said. When he saw, he turned and his whole face changed. His expression became softer. "Thank you for coming," he said. "You said there was something important," said. She stayed near the door. She kept distance between them. "There is," said. He pointed out the window. "Look at your Empire's space station, the one out near the gas giant." Looked, she could see the station in the distance. It was a military station. It was there to watch for threats and protect interests. "I am looking," she said. "That station has been maintaining a weapons lock on my ship for the past 2 hours," said. His voice was calm. He was not angry. "Your people are ready to start shooting again. They are waiting for an order, but that order will not come from you, will it?" Felt her skin go cold. "No," she said. "I gave orders that all weapons be put on standby. No one should have weapons locked on your vessel." "I know," said. He turned to look at her. "That is why I wanted to show you this, because it means you have a problem with someone in your own government. It means someone wants this negotiation to fail." "How do you know this?" asked. "Because if I was your enemy, I would do the same thing," said. "I would try to start fighting again. I would try to make it look like you wanted peace but your government wanted war. It is a common military tactic." Moved closer to the window. She used her communication device to send a message to her fleet. She ordered the weapons lock to be removed immediately. There was a delay. Then a response came. The weapons lock was gone. But someone had put it there without her order. "Who would do this?" asked. "Someone who benefits from war," said. Someone in your government or your military who does not want peace. They stood in silence for a moment, realized that Price had shown her this information instead of reporting it to his own leaders. He could have used this as proof that the Empire did not want peace. He could have used it to excuse his people from continuing the negotiations, but instead he had come to her. He had warned her. He had helped her. "Why?" she asked. "Why would you tell me this?" Turned to look at her directly. His blue eyes seemed to see all the way through her. "Because I believe you want peace. Because I believe you are different from the others in your government. Because I think you are brave." Skin flashed bright with light. She could not control it. She turned away so he would not see. "You should not speak to me like this," she said. Her voice was not steady anymore. "You are a human soldier. I am a princess. This cannot." "Cannot what?" Moved closer. "Cannot be real." "It cannot be anything at all," said, but she did not move away when he came closer. She did not order him to leave. She stood there and let him get near her. "I think it already is something," said. "I think it has been since the moment I walked into that negotiation room and saw you. I think you felt it too." Wanted to deny this. She wanted to tell him he was wrong. She wanted to say that she was a professional diplomat and that she did not have feelings for humans. But she could not lie, not to him, not when her skin was glowing so bright that it made shadows on the walls. "This is not possible," she said. The words came out like they were pulled from her against her will. "My government will never accept a relationship with a human. Your government will think you have lost your mind. This will destroy everything." "Maybe," said. He was very close to her now, close enough that she could feel the warmth coming from his body, close enough that she could hear his heartbeat. "But maybe it is also the most important thing that could happen. Maybe this is what we need. Maybe the reason we have been fighting is because we never really understood each other. And maybe the way we understand each other is through people like us who are willing to take the risk." Closed her eyes. Her skin was glowing so bright that she could see the light even with her eyes closed. "If anyone found out," she said, "it would be political disaster." "I know," said. "If we continued this," said, "we would both be betraying our governments." "I know that too," said. "I should order you to leave," said. "I should tell you we cannot speak like this again." Did not say anything. He just stood there waiting. Opened her eyes and looked at him. She saw his face clearly. She saw his uncertainty. She saw that he was scared too. He was not sure what would happen. He was not sure if she would reject him, but he had taken the risk anyway. For the first time in 30 years, decided that she did not care what her government would think. For the first time in 30 years, she decided that what she wanted mattered more than her duty. "The negotiation rooms have recordings," she said, "but the observation area does not. No one will see what happens here." Understood what she was saying. He reached out and took her hand. Her skin was warm and glowing. His hand was warm too, but in a different way, a human way. They stood together and looked out at the stars. Behind them, her soldiers pretended not to see. Behind them, his soldiers looked away. And for a moment, a princess and a human captain let themselves believe that maybe, just maybe, this impossible thing could work. The fourth day was the hardest day. Had not slept. She had spent the entire night in her chamber thinking about what had happened in the observation area. She had replayed every moment. She had remembered every word. She had felt every feeling over again. But the morning brought a new problem. The ambassador came to her chamber early. His antennae were moving in patterns that showed he was very upset about something. When opened her door, she could see in his face that he knew. "There are reports," he said without greeting her. "Reports from your own people. Reports that you have been alone with the human captain. Reports that you have shown emotional responses that are not appropriate for your position." Felt her stomach drop. Who would report such things? "The military liaison," the ambassador said. "He says that a princess showing visible emotional responses to a human soldier is a security risk. He says it shows weakness. He says the human captain may be using seduction tactics as a military strategy. That is not true, said. I know it is not true, the ambassador said. But it does not matter what the truth is. What matters is what people believe. And right now, people in the government are beginning to believe that you have lost your ability to make clear decisions about this negotiation. Wanted to argue. She wanted to tell them that she was exactly the right person to make these decisions. She wanted to explain that her feelings for Price did not change the fact that she could see the best path forward for her people. But she knew that would not work. She knew that in the government, emotion and duty could not mix. If the government thought she had let emotion control her, they would remove her from the negotiation. They would send someone else to take her place. What do they want me to do? She asked. They want you to distance yourself from the human captain. They want you to return to pure diplomacy. And they want you to finish this negotiation today. By tonight, you will have agreements signed or you will be relieved of your duty. After the ambassador left, sat in her chamber for a long time. She had choices to make, but every choice felt like it would destroy something important. If she stopped seeing Price, she would save her political position. She would keep her authority. She would do her duty to her government, but she would lose something that had become more important to her than anything else. If she continued to see him, she would lose her government position. She would lose her authority. She would be called a traitor, but she would not lose him. The negotiations that day moved faster than they should have. Both sides seemed to want them finished, pushed hard on the territorial agreements. Price did not push back the way he normally did. It was like both of them knew that time was running out. It was like both of them were trying to finish before they were forced to stop. By the middle of the afternoon, the basic agreement was complete. The territorial disputes were solved. The prisoner exchange was finished. The trade agreements were set. Everything was done except for the formal signing. Price asked for another private meeting with. The ambassador looked like he wanted to say no, but was still the princess. She was still in charge. She could still make her own decisions. They met in a small room that was not the observation area. It was a room used for private diplomatic talks. It had no windows. It had only one door. There were no observers. When came in, could see that he had been told the same things she had been told. His government had probably sent him orders. His government had probably told him to finish the negotiation and get back to his ship. I heard about what happened this morning, he said without sitting down. My government does not approve of this, said. She also remained standing. They think I am letting emotion control me. They think you are using seduction as a military tactic. They have given me until tonight to finish the negotiation or step down. Closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, there was pain in them. What do you want to do? I want to keep my position, said. I want to keep my power. I want to finish this negotiation the way I was supposed to. I want to be the person my government trained me to be. She saw his face fall. He took a step back. But that is not what I am going to do, continued. I am going to sign this agreement tonight, and then I am going to tell my government that I will not stop seeing you. I will tell them that I have made a choice. I will tell them that if they want to remove me from my position, they can try, but I will not hide who I am anymore. Said, his voice was rough with emotion. You do not understand what you are giving up. You will lose everything. Your government will. I know what I am giving up, said. I have spent my entire life doing what other people told me to do. I have spent my entire life keeping my feelings locked away so that no one could see who I really was. But you saw me. You saw me from the moment you walked into that room, and I cannot pretend anymore that I do not see you. Moved forward and took her hands. His grip was strong and warm. I will not stay long, he said. My military leaders will force me to return to my ship tomorrow. They will force me to return to the human territories. But I want you to know something. I want you to know that meeting you has changed what I believe about peace. I want you to know that what happens between us is real, and it matters, and it will not be forgotten." 1 year, said suddenly. The idea came to her fully formed. If you survive the next year, if our governments remain at peace for the next year, come back to this station. Come back and we will talk about whether this can continue. 1 year asked. 1 year, confirmed. That will give us both time to understand what is real and what is just the excitement of a forbidden thing. That will give our governments time to adjust. That will give us a real chance instead of a stolen moment. Pulled her close and held her for a long time, let her skin glow. She did not hide it anymore. She let the light shine bright between them. 1 year said into her hair, "I will come back, I promise I will come back." That evening the territorial agreement was signed. Both governments put their official marks on the document. It was done. The negotiation was over. In the morning, Price would leave the station and return to human space, but knew that something had started that no document could finish. And she would spend the next year waiting to see if it was real. 1 year passed like a moment and like forever. Spent the first months after his departure managing the political problems that his absence created. The government was split on what had happened. Some leaders believed that had made a good choice. Some leaders believed that she had betrayed her duty. Most leaders did not know what to think, and so they said nothing. She lost her position as the main representative to human negotiations. The government gave that job to someone else, but did not fight them on it. She had other work to do. She began to study the human species. She read their histories. She read their philosophies. She read their science and their art and their poetry. She wanted to understand why Price was the way he was. She wanted to understand the human capacity for hope and kindness, and the strange belief that peace was better than victory. The more she read, the more she understood that was not strange for a human. He was normal. Humans believed in things. They fought for ideas. They thought that individual people mattered. This was something that the Empire had forgotten thousands of years ago. In the human territories, Price was doing similar work. He was reading about culture. He was studying their history. He was learning their language better. He was preparing for the day when he could talk to again as equals instead of diplomats separated by politics. But he was also fighting. The human military leadership did not approve of his interest in the princess. They said it was weakness. They said it was dangerous. They gave him orders to forget about her, did not obey those orders. He continued to prepare. He continued to hope. 3 times in that year, human and forces came close to fighting again. 3 times conflict almost started, but both worked behind the scenes to prevent it. They worked through other officers. They worked through diplomatic channels. They worked through intermediaries. And 3 times they prevented war. By the time the year was almost complete, both had become something they had not expected to become. Had become an expert on culture and politics. Had become an expert on human behavior and philosophy. And both of them had become convinced that what had happened between them was real. The day before the 1-year anniversary received a message. It said only 3 words, "I am coming back." Spent the entire evening preparing for his arrival. She arranged for a new station to be created. A station where human and diplomats could meet regularly. A station that would be neutral ground for peaceful negotiations. She made sure it was the most beautiful and peaceful space she could create. When arrived, he came alone. No soldiers, no military protection, just himself. Saw him come through the airlock and her entire body lit up so bright that everyone on the station had to look away. Her skin was glowing with color. She did not care. She did not try to hide it. Walked toward her and then he was holding her and she was holding him back. For a long moment they just stood there. They did not speak. They did not need to speak. "I told you I would come back," said finally. "I never doubted it," said, "but I was afraid." Of what? Of waking up and discovering this was only a dream. of finding out that the feelings were not real, of losing you again. Pulled back just far enough to look at her face. I have spent every day of this year thinking about you. I have spent every day preparing to come back. There is nothing that could have stopped me. You are not a dream. You are the most real thing I have ever experienced. In the weeks that followed, human and diplomats came to the new station. They came to negotiate new agreements, but they also came to see if what N had discovered was true. They came to see if two species that had been taught to hate each other could actually find common ground. The diplomats watched as and worked together. They watched as the princess and the captain created agreements that benefited both their peoples. They watched as the two of them showed that compromise was possible. They watched as the two of them showed that peace could be real. After 6 months of regular meetings, the government officially accepted its request for diplomatic residency on stations. The human government officially accepted its request to study human culture on human worlds. They would be separated sometimes, but they would never be separated again. 2 years after that first meeting, and stood on an observation deck that was not neutral ground anymore. It was on a station, and had made it their home together. "Do you regret anything?" asked as they looked out at the stars. "I regret the years we did not know each other," said. "I regret every moment of separation, but I do not regret the choice I made. I do not regret choosing you over my position." "You did not really choose me over your position," said. "You chose a new kind of position, a position that matters more to the whole galaxy than power ever could." Leaned her head against his shoulder. Her skin glowed soft blue in the darkness. His arm around her was steady and warm and human. The galaxy was full of old powers fighting over territory. The galaxy was full of species that believed might was right and that peace was weakness. But on this station, in this moment, 2 individuals from 2 different worlds had proven something different. They had proven that understanding could win where weapons could not. They had proven that love could break down barriers that politics could not move. They had proven that one human and one, standing together, could change the course of history. And as they stood together looking at the stars, both and knew that their story was only beginning. The hard work was ahead. The real negotiations were just starting, but for the first time in their lives they were not afraid. For the first time in their lives they were not alone. And that made all the difference.